Welcome to the Whiskey Chasers, where we talk about our passion for whiskey and its history, either amongst ourselves or while interviewing distilleries, all while enjoying a glass. I'm Steve.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Chris.
Please enjoy responsibly while enjoying this week's episode of the Whiskey Chasers. All right, so now on to Christmas Future. And we have a Mezcal, or a tequila. In this case, Mezcal.
Yeah, I just when you say future in mezcal, I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I think a lot of people say that may be where things are going.
Where things are tequila around.
So moving
Mezcal.
into tequila, I think people are saying it's going to take off at some point. I don't know how true that is. I think things are fads. We'll see if it does really take off or not. But I know for me, there's some future possibilities for tequila. As I was researching tequila, mezcal in particular. And then also I've had this one before where this is the Bozal is the name of the company.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Bozal?
Bozal.
Bozal? I don't know.
Bozal.
Yeah, Bozal.
Bozal the clown.
Yep. This is their Ensemble is the name of this particular bottle. And they call it a pretty light mezcal.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that caught me.
Yeah.
When they were talking about this is a pretty easy going one.
Now
Good
I want to know what a
starter or
really
whatever.
heavy
I'm
one
like,
is.
man,
We've had mezcal before.
If this is a light mezcal, then I am on board with mezcal.
We must have been drinking like really crappy
We've
mezcal.
gone through two bottles of mezcal. The one you got was the one had a worm in it.
It had
was
a worm in
gold.
the bottom.
Yeah, and that one I remember trying to be like, this is not good. Like this is like bottom shelf.
It was bottom shelf.
Bottom shelf mezcal. I think it was like
Fine for mixing.
$5-10
and
bucks.
I ate the worm. Yeah.
The one that I got prior to that, I forget the company. It was a beautiful, like Aloha or something, like was the name of the bottle, and it looked like this tropical skull kind of
like
Mexican
a mermaid
feel.
on it.
Yeah, it was something weird, but that was heavier than it. Maybe even this with the like smokiness.
Yeah, it was more like of that. It's more like that burnt cactus agave type stuff. But as far as like flavor goes, like this thing is more flavorful than those were. It just has a lot of depth of flavor in it.
Yeah, the things I was reading says that this one is called it's a light mezcal, but with a complex finish. And so,
If I remember right, this was a pretty affordable bottle too.
yeah, I don't think it's super expensive.
No, I think this one was maybe 50.
Great,
Which is crazy. Like,
and I don't know if that's a great price for tequila.
there we go.
That's the thing. I don't know.
We talk about this being the ghost of the future, right?
Mhm, yeah. Christmas Future.
Christmas future. Spirit.
Spirit
Yep.
of Christmas Future. Yeah.
So years ago, I mean, this is probably 2020 that you and I sat down and we started drinking. Think about the club and different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, people were telling us, maybe not back then, but we've heard a lot from people that
I feel like you and I were like, tequila is the next big thing.
Yeah,
Like tequila is going to be the next big, like sought after thing. Yeah. It's going to take over whiskey because at that point it was starting to get, whiskey was starting to, that incline of getting more and more expensive and harder to find. Where tequila at the time was always on the shelves. And the most expensive bottle that you were going to find at that time was going to be like $40.
And what you were getting for that price, you were getting something craft and something made with very good ingredients and something painstakingly put together for a very good price. And that's why we said at the time, we were like, this is a matter of time before this takes off. We just had dipped our toes, but we heard from other people, like other distilleries that said that they thought tequila was the next big thing. But they have been saying that for the last couple years.
I think part of the limitation of tequila or mezcal is it's location specific. It has to be made in Jalisco, Mexico, the state of Jalisco,
For it to be mezcal.
to be mezcal, tequila, any of those things.
Okay, so is it Oaxaca?
That is an area in Jalisco that tequila has to be made in.
Got it. Okay. I couldn't remember if that's where
here's the
mezcal
thing,
was
and
made.
this is something I didn't know, but mezcal is kind of like whiskey and tequila is kind of like bourbon. All tequila is mezcal, but not all mezcal is tequila. So mezcal is your whiskey. It's your umbrella thing.
Okay.
I thought it'd be the other way around.
Yeah, me too.
No, it's
okay.
Yeah, so tequila is made in a particular section, only made with blue agave. Mezcal can be made with multiple things, multiple different types of agave.
So, mezcal would be the older spirit here.
Yes.
And tequila would be like the fancy younger brother.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
I know. I did not know that when I started this.
I thought it'd be the other way around.
I did too.
I thought tequila was a term for alcohol in that area, basically.
It's
mezcal.
Mezcal.
That's the term
and
for alcohol.
The people that make mezcal or tequila, because tequila is a type of mezcal, is mezcaleros.
The mezcaleros. I was about to ask, what does mezcal mean?
But
I
think it's just a
made
type
by the mezcaleros.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So it's made with agave hearts, which are called pinyas, kind of like pineapple.
Like
because it's kind of what it looks like.
thing.
Sort of, yeah. It almost looks like aloe. It kind of looks like an aloe
like
plant.
An aloe plant, yeah.
Different sizes depending on the type of it is. But they cut off all the things and keep the hearts. But it's made by taking those hearts and then like roasting them in a pit. They like bury them in a pit for a few days. Then they take a stone wheel and crush them up. Usually controlled by a horse or an ox.
Yeah, so like the way they used to make grain.
Yeah, exactly. And that's still how it's made by most people.
Isn't that what Samson was doing at the end of his life there? And you remember this story from the Bible?
Samson.
And they put him at the grinding wheel.
Oh, on the grinding wheel. Yeah.
You like push it around. Yeah.
But I think it was more of a mill for grain.
It wasn't for tequila.
That's what I mean. It's it wasn't for tequila.
I was like, oh, they're making tequila back then?
Maybe.
Mexico's in the Bible, don't you know?
It was there.
The Romans, man.
Yeah. But they roast it for a few days, then it comes out, and then they crush it with these wheels, and they distill it in pot stills. But a cool thing to look for in your tequila mezcal searches, look for on there for it to say Destilado and barro.
Bottled and bond?
No.
That's what it sounds like. Distilled and
Destilado is definitely distilled.
Yeah.
In and barro. Barro. Barro.
Oh, like the barrio.
And so what that means is that they're still using clay pot stills.
Barriel, Barril.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's barro.
That's what I said. Right.
But I don't. Is that Destilado and barro?
Well, this says barrel, Barril.
But does it start with the rest of it like that? Destilado?
Nah, Destilado.
Nah.
Okay, then no, this is something different then. But if it says that, then they're using clay pot stills.
Oh,
to make it instead of like traditional copper or whatever. They're using old school clay.
Well, I wonder if that's where they're getting some of the flavor from.
But so we talked about how Scotch was created, right? For a long, flavor. We went way back on Scotch whiskey, right? And the idea of it starting with clay pot stills. Yeah. I didn't know that anyone still did that.
Those things like absorb heat and they expand and contract it, and they soak in flavors and they impart different things. It just makes sense to make a distillate in a clay. That's so interesting, and that's very old. Very old. Yeah, like Greece and whatnot. Where they were doing stuff with clay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so these guys are not. This particular brand doesn't seem to be. But if you can find one that does that, probably pick it up. That's probably a pretty decent,
pretty interesting.
If nothing else interesting. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but it'll be interesting. And also, tequila is never proof down. So,
ooh, wait, what?
Yeah, tequila or mezcal?
Both. Mezcal. Okay. Mezcal is never. So tequila also is never proof down. So that means they distill it to the proof that they want and then bottle it. So this is 94 proof, I think, right? So that means they just distilled it up to 94 proof and then stopped.
Which is fascinating. Okay, so...
Because they don't age it. They don't have to worry about it getting higher in age. The only time they age stuff is Repisado or whatever. Yeah.
So Brendan, who we've had on the podcast and was in part of the club, he is getting into home distillation thing, right? For whiskey, for bourbon, it can't be distilled higher than...
160?
I want to say it was 160. Can't be distilled more than that. Which 2 runs through a still gets you too close to that 160. So if 2 runs through a still gets you to that,
and you can't proof it down.
Yeah, and you can't proof, and this is not proof down. Then this might be like distilled once. Right. Like this might go through a still one time and then it's done.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I would assume that they are maybe cooking it at a higher temperature so that more water is getting in with it. So it's not being distilled down to an ethanol. It's if you're doing a higher temperature, then you're getting water and ethanol at the same time. So that's probably how they would do it to make it go through more distillations if they wanted, but to keep more water in with it.
What's interesting is now my whole mindset of mezcal and tequila is so different.
Oh,
Because
1,000%.
I was going to ask a question of, what is an aged mezcal? What's reposado? Now I know that because I thought tequila and mezcal were two separate spirits. Yeah. They are the same thing.
They're the same thing.
The only thing is a tequila is a specialty version of mezcal, the way that cognac is a specialty version of brandy. That's so interesting to me.
I thought it was the other way around. I thought mezcal was the specialty to tequila.
I really thought that they were two separately, like there was something that was distinctively different about the two. And because I have seen mezcal that must have been aged, that was just said mezcal on it because it was darker. But then I've also seen reposado, which means that is tequila that's been aged. So you can have aged mezcal, but you can't call it reposado because it's not a tequila.
Exactly. It's not made in that particular section because tequila is a specialty version. It's a smaller group.
So if the mezcal is aged, they can't call it añejo or extra añejo.
I don't know if they can or not.
I don't know about the añejo part. I don't know.
But not reposado.
Couldn't call it reposado, probably.
But also, when you think of like 1800 gold, like that's not aged. That they're just adding color to it. They're adding caramel to it.
Did they add color to that? Got to be kidding me. Really? I didn't know that. Well, no, I never had that stuff. But I mean, screw that stuff.
Whatever tequila gold.
Yeah, don't get gold.
Added.
Okay, well, who cares about the color of things? It's about the taste. Because I think Blanco is just this. It's not aged, which is fine. This is actually, imagine this aged.
I know, right?
Holy cow. Like, what the crap would that be like? Because this has so much flavor, but what it is probably lacking is wood of some kind, right? Imagine like a reposado, like an extra or an extra aged.
Before we get into the flavor of this, do you guys remember when we gave this to Ryan blind?
I wasn't there.
Oh, you so you guys were there.
I was there, but I wasn't there when you gave it to him.
I said to tell him that, hey, try this new scotch.
Yeah, so I told him we have to try something new. Didn't say it was a scotch. Didn't say it was a whiskey. I just said, you can't look at the bottle. I'm going to give you something to try. And so he grabs it and starts smelling. He goes, did you give me White Dog? Is this just like straight moonshine? I was like,
is it because he looked at in the inside or something?
Well, he was smelling it and looked at it. He's like, it's clear. It's got to be like moonshine.
I
like,
wish you would give given it to him and something that wasn't clear.
Yeah.
And then he tried it and he's like, is this like smoked moonshine? Like, what did you give me? Like, I have no idea what this is. And Herm was standing beside me when he was saying this. And I think Herm was talking to Blake at that point, or was talking to someone, and he just started cracking up because he was like side conversation hearing it, and he's already tried it. He's like, that's not whiskey at all, buddy. That's tequila.
I mean, if you never saw the color of this and you tried it,
you would think it was a scotch of some sort.
You think it was some sort of scotch with something going on. It is but you would definitely think it's an aged spirit.
Yes, for sure.
Like, how are they getting this much flavor in something that is clear?
Right.
That's what I don't get.
Because this is these pinyas or this agave is essentially smoked. I mean, it's put in a pit and like sits there for a few days, up to a week. So
does it cover? Is there coal inside the pit or covering the pit? Do you know?
I think it's covered. I think it's like buried essentially into like almost like a hog.
I was going to say like a pig roast that they do in Hawaii. They do that underground.
So I'm still struggling with this, wrapping my head around this idea. So mezcal is whiskey
for that area.
Tequila is bourbon.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Okay, so there's another special type of mezcal that I don't know if it came up when you were looking at this. I've gone down the rabbit hole, which is another reason why I'm struggling to wrap my head around this idea, because there's a specific mezcal called Pachunga mezcal, which when I first tried this, I was like, man, this is like someone homemade this. Like, this is like in a village. You go and visit them and like, hey, we've got our liquor. Backyard, yeah, they're like, we want to give this to you. We want you to try it. Like, this is homemade here. This is like our homemade wine, homemade moonshine. It's earthy. It's smoky. It's not normal. Like tequila, this is not tequila. You don't think tequila. This stuff is the exact same. So this petunia, whatever, is the exact same mezcal idea, but then they distill it 3 times, because I think it says in a third distillate when they do it, they actually hang a protein over it. Chicken, turkey, venison, any kind of protein. They hang over it. Snake, iguana, any kind of protein, and it's almost like a vapor, like the gin. So if this is the whiskey to tequila, what is that?
Well, that's the thing. Well,
what is that?
Think about it like whiskey. Like American single malt is whiskey. Irish whiskey is whiskey. All these are all things that fall under the umbrella of whiskey.
I would almost say that a better comparison is brandy and cognac, because the ingredients are the same. Whereas you're talking about bourbon and whiskey, the ingredients are different ingredients. Yeah. But I think from what you're saying is, I think mezcal and tequila are pretty much built on the same ingredients, just in different specified locations, correct?
Specified locations and specialized agaves.
Agaves. Yeah, so the types of ingredients.
Tequila can only use a blue agave.
Right.
Whereas mezcal can use multiple.
But there's no
kinds.
Percentage or whatever.
There's no percentages. Because I think it's it. It's always just agave. Yeah.
So I think that it's even more closely together. Tequila and mezcal is more closely together than bourbon and whiskey, because that's a broader term. I really think it would be like champagne and Champagne, France versus sparkling wine, or cognac and brandy. But when you're talking about bourbon and scotch, the makeup of the two is very different, like ingredient wise, more different than tequila and mezcal.
It's almost like saying, so scotch is scotch, right? Even blended scotch is still scotch. But you talk about scotch and then you go, oh, it's made in this region. Oh, it's made in this region. It's all the same. It's all barley, but it's just differentiates between different regions.
But they're not putting corn in scotch.
Right, I mean? Exactly.
Like they are in bourbon.
Right. But I do find it interesting. So one thing I find fascinating with all spirits is what they decide to hone in on. Why did we come up with agave for tequila? I get that it's like your crop, but at one point where they're like,
and along with
we
that
can distill
question, I was going to ask, which one came first? How long has mezcal been around, and has it been around longer than bourbon? Wow, how about that? Yeah. I wonder how much longer. I mean, I bet medicine men were making this crap way back in the day, right? There probably is some sort of trippy whatever spirit trip thing.
Tequila was a thing for the Aztecs,
right?
I mean, you're on way back.
We're talking 1600 or something or longer.
So we're talking Christmas past and present on this one.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking all of a sudden it's the future, but it's probably been around longer than gin.
Probably it may have.
The original firewater kind of a deal, for the people down farther south,
And because of just geography and history, history was made east. It was made in Europe and Asia. There's not a lot of talk about history in Mexico. Not
as much as there should be.
When you think about Mexican history, you think of, or if you go way back, it's Aztecs and Incas, and that's kind of it. And that's just it's Native American history more than it is
South American. Because even you talk about even more, when you're talking about the Guarani Indians or whatever they were, there's a lot of different tribes of Indians down in South America, in Peru and everything else. Yeah. I mean,
but since they didn't write down their history, they were oral historians. They didn't write it down. So because of that, a lot of their history is lost. So we don't know what they knew. And we don't know what they made because it was oral tradition. It wasn't written tradition.
Imagine being from that culture and realizing that. How much would that suck? Sucks a lot.
But it's probably been passed down.
But it's probably true even with our Native American. There's probably a lot lost there too.
It is. A lot of our Native history is Native Americans were the same way. It was an oral tradition. So because of that, you had a person that you would tell your stories to, and their job was to tell those stories.
Can you imagine? So the other day, I think it was Sunday, Henry started talking about some from movie or a line from movie, and you're like,
for 3 years ago.
I was like, how do you know that? We watched that 3 years ago.
You're only 6. That's half your life. Yeah.
Can you imagine being that person that the tribe was like, buddy, you've got a great memory. You're it.
Man, do I have a job for you?
Yeah, you're the guy. Yeah.
The pressure on that one. Buddy, you have a great memory. We got to use it.
Yeah, it's just interesting to think about that this potentially has been around for a long, long time. And then probably the processes have been different because I'm sure that they couldn't distill in the way that they do now, but I'm sure they were using agave.
But they were using those clay pots and stuff.
Clay pots and whatnot, yeah.
That technology's been around for a long, long time.
So there's something, the bottles that we've picked out for this, in my mind, the back of my mind, I help pick them out with the idea that it's still somewhat involved with whiskey. There's something about smoking the spirit, or not even the spirit, but the grain that completely changes the integrity or down to the compound level of whatever it is that my body can handle them. Normal tequila, Chris can tell you, I don't sit and sip normal tequila. I'll have it in a margarita pass. I'm like, yeah,
that's smoke too.
But I'm like, but it's a very different. Yeah, maybe it's a mental thing.
But yeah, you don't. It doesn't hold on to the smoke. It doesn't have the same like.
Right. So like Irish whiskey, there's some that use peat or like peated barley. That is a completely different. Maybe it's a mind thing because it's a completely different flavor. It changes how a reaction to it.
I think that your reaction that you've always talked about all these years. I think what it really is the difference between a higher quality level and a super low quality level. And I think when people typically drink tequila, or in this case, mezcal or whatever, I think what we are really doing is scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel. Yeah. And like, you wouldn't drink that level of bourbon. Like nobody would drink that level of bourbon. Like you're talking like probably like Kessler's level of bourbon, right? Like with the additives and crap. And you're like, I wonder why I feel like crap the next day. Because you're drinking basically neutral grain spirit with color coated, like color added. I think that when people drink tequila and they say they have a bad reaction, it's because they are drinking some really terrible shit in a decently looking, decent bottle. And nobody knows. Nobody has any freaking clue. Then all of a sudden you try a real mezcal, like for people that drink mezcal or tequila, and you're like, oh, why is this so much better? Like I didn't have a weird thing. And we're talking about, this is a $50 bottle. Like this isn't, we're not breaking the third wall here or whatever, fourth wall or eighth wall or whatever that you call that expression. But we are talking about like, finally you're drinking something of no, like somebody actually produced this for drinking. You're drinking it, not produce this to sell money. Like I think Americans drink really shitty tequila, like really crappy stuff. Yeah. And then they wonder why they feel like crap. It's because they're not drinking the real deal stuff. Like go out and buy an actual bottle of tequila. And that's what I'm learning. I think that has always been your reaction. Not tequila and what it's the quality you've had. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can tolerate. Because when I started drinking Repisado, nobody's going to age crap mezcal or tequila. So I was like, oh, this stuff's great. But I think it's because it's actually a decent product that they took the time to age because it's a decent product. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, when you're getting an aged mezcal, it's going to be decent because who else is going to take the time to age that?
Right.
And that brings me to another point. Why are they not aging this stuff more? Because it's not like they need it. It's not, we're not going through, or maybe down there they are. Maybe down in South America and out west, they're just going through it. But I'm like, do you need it that quick? You can't put like a couple years of age or 36 months of age on this, I also wonder how much they're making at a time. Because if they have to have horses that are crushing up the pinyas and stuff, like you're making probably pretty small batches. And maybe they don't have that much agave to go around. Yeah. They don't want to strip the land and do all that. And they can't, you're right, they can't proof it down. Right. So what they yield is what they yield. Right. And I wonder also aging. I wonder if aging down there wouldn't be great. Like with the heat. And it's cold at night. Lose a lot. It's cold at night, hot during the day, cold at night, out in the desert,
But also, what kind of wood do they have?
Where would you age it?
It's more of like a desert land.
Yeah, there's an oak.
Yeah, what kind of wood do you have?
That's a good point. There's no oak. Then we're talking like nowadays we have modern conveniences. We're talking about back in the day. Did they have these things? They had freaking cactuses.
No.
And sand.
They would have been aged in clay pots.
Yeah, freaking clay pots, which is small batch. Yeah, what is that going to do for you? Right. It's clay.
Yeah, right.
It's going to still kind of come out clear in 10 years.
If it comes out any other color, that's probably not a good thing.
That's a good point. I mean, that's why they use clay. They don't got that crap.
Yeah, I mean, what I learned researching this is that I want to try more mezcals. I think I can be a tequila guy. I think I can be a mezcal guy. In particular, something like this or reposados that are aged. I was going to say,
now I want to throw my modern convenience. I do want an aged. I want to try this aged. Yeah. I want it to have some color from oak.
But you got to imagine,
not from color code.
If we're going if we're going for age, we're probably going to be paying a heftier price tag, in my opinion.
Dude, I bet the most expensive bottle of tequila that you'd get, that is probably amazing, would be still cheaper than an amazing bourbon.
I mean, a bottle of Patron is like $60.
Which is cheap, yeah.
And so, I don't know that I've ever had Patron.
I've stayed away from it because I thought it was a marketing thing, like Jose Cuervo, or now you're talking about the freaking gold crap. Like I think it is just a brand that I don't care anything about.
I've seen some tequila bottles go up to like $200-$300.
I mean, I'm sure
you're talking about the nicest tequila ever. If you talked about any bourbon and said $200 or $300, you wouldn't say it like that. But people already are kind of shitting on tequila when you talk about it that way. Think about it. And the people have no problem spending that on a scotch, but all of a sudden you get tequila and you start getting a little like stingy, like I can't spend that on tequila, which, hey, I've always been there too, but I'm starting to think that maybe that's not like if you can get a really good bottle for $200, I bet in bourbon terms, that's probably like a $600-$700 bottle. You know what I mean?
It's really good.
I bet it's that much cheaper. It's just different. That's all it is. It's different. You know what I mean? So it's just not our first choice. You don't want to spend that much money, but you might be able to get in on some good bottles for cheap when you look at it that way.
I was debating between this bottle for today and another one that I actually opened with Chris. It was a store pick. Do you remember this, Chris? It's Mastro Dobel. So that's the brand, right?
Okay.
Proximo owns them. I got to try when I was in Texas last year, I think it was. They had a special release of that, and it was an extra añejo. I think we paid like $150, $200 for it, and it drank like a bourbon. I mean, it was fantastic. It was aged, but I also struggled with the price tag because I was like, because I look at tequila
as a cheap brand,
as a cheap thing,
or a cheap thing.
And look at mezcal. I would spend $200 on a bottle of mezcal in a heartbeat because in my mind it's flip flopped. Mm-hmm. Mezcal is a higher end.
It's a fancy version.
It is. It's a fancy version of tequila.
Well, see, I always feel that way about brandy. Well, it's interesting because I love brandy. But if you've ever noticed, there's cheap brandy and then there's very expensive brandy. There's no middle road. And you know why? Because you're either buying it cheap because you really don't know what you're doing and you're just doing it for whatever reason, or you know what you're doing and you're already at the level you're like, I'm not buying the cheap crap. I don't want middle of the road. I want to get something good. So there's only two types of brandy people out there. There's no middle of the road brandy people. Right. And a lot of people would never spend, because if you look at some of the expensive bottles, you're like, I would never spend that for brandy. Brandy you can get brandy all the way up to $1 million a bottle. Like it's crazy. But good brandy, like the highest end brandy you can find in a store, is always going to be around that $300-$400 price point for a bottle of brandy. Yeah. Nobody's going to spend unless you like brandy. And I do. Yeah. But a lot of people would see that and they'd never spend $200 on a bottle of brandy because it's just not their thing. But they would on bourbon, no problem. But for me, brandy is a little bit more of a delicate spirit. And I think it actually probably it definitely deserves that price when it's something special, just because of all the stuff that goes into that, especially if it's a cognac from France, and it's got all they really kind of pull out all the stops when it comes to brandy, high-end brandy. But I bet you the same could be said for tequila, but it would always be a little cheaper because it's not popular.
It's becoming really popular.
Yeah. More people are going for it.
I think that's why
we're sipping this straight.
Our future.
Oh, neat, unchilled, not mixed, nothing. We're pouring this in a glass and drink. Did you ever think you'd be sitting around drinking? At this point, we know this is tequila, right? It's mezcal, but it's the same thing as tequila. Would you ever think you'd be sitting around drinking tequila and enjoying it like this? Me neither. Yeah. Me freaking neither. And if I had never, stepped out, I still wouldn't, because I would assume tequila tastes like, every other, like El Toro or Jose Cuervo. And I'm like, that's gross. But that's not the case. Opening my eyes. And then I think, like you guys said, it is the spirit of the future, because I think there could be a lot more, not only a lot more done with it, I think more people are going to come to this realization.
But I think the realization I think we're coming to as whiskey drinkers is that there's something past whiskey. There's something other than whiskey, right? So this idea that within the whiskey community, once you get past the Kesslers, once you get past the neutral grain, the cheap stuff, you start diving into quality. And once you start diving into quality, you start going, so bourbon is American, scotch is Scotland. So you've got different regions, different countries that are making stuff out of their own grain. Right. This could be called whiskey for all we know, right? This could be whiskey, but
that's
it would
what mezcal could mean. Basically, it might mean the same thing.
It could be like the Mexican or South American version of whiskey, and we call it something different. You know what I mean? Or they call it something different than what we would consider or call whiskey. But I think we're starting to realize as we progress in the quality of whiskey, we start to realize there's something else out there from other countries that carries the same quality that could be enjoyed. And it's no longer, once you hit that quality aspect, it's no longer moonshine where we're just drinking to get drunk.
Well, that's what it's all about. Yeah.
Right. Like this is now becoming a conversation, right?
If you thought that, you wouldn't be listening. And I think when you're talking about a spirit like tequila or mezcal on this point, what you've been describing to me, Steve, is not something I ever associated with this. It's craft.
Yes.
I mean, it is very craft. Yeah. When you're talking about they're using a freaking stone and to grind this stuff up in pots, and they're roasting this stuff on the ground for a while. Like, I've never associated mezcal with craft or tequila with craft. But what you're saying to me is more craft than a lot of spirits out there. And that's really kind of changing my whole opinion on this stuff. Like, it's not cheap junk, whatever. Like, it's, done right. If you get a good bottle of it, it's not, if you don't get a mass produced bottle, but the idea of a craft mezcal is very appealing to me now. Very interesting.
It's hard to get.
And I think if anybody's turned off by the idea of the flavor, if you've never had anything other than like cheap tequila, try it, because I think you'll be surprised. Because it used to be the same way. I think the flavor always turned me off because it was cheap junk, like that's not the case here. Like, I can't get over that this is unaged spirit and that it's made with freaking agave and whatever, like, I don't know. It's really good. I might be on the market, market for some.
I agree.
But again, it's in Ohio, incredibly hard to find. Yeah. Even outside of Ohio, mezcal in America is really hard to find.
I bet out west it's not.
Maybe out west and south, probably not harder to find. But it's such a distinct flavor. It's not tequila, right? So it's more like a scotch. To where people are like, ooh, that's I don't know.
It's a flavor. It's a flavor.
It's a flavor bomb.
Be okay it is with
it's pretty
flavor.
Intense, and like I said, to have this one be labeled as a light version of a mezcal
freaks you out.
It gets me excited.
This is very much like an Isla Scotch. Like, it's the agave is pretty sweet, like agave flavoring or whatever. The agaves are sweet, and so it's a very sweet thing with smoke, which again, it feels like it would be very American. It's very barbecue. Like, it's very
it's very barbecue.
Like a sweet barbecue sauce with liquid smoke or something, added to it or whatever, So it's fascinating to me that it hasn't really taken off as much in the US because of that, because it is very sweet. Like, the smoke, like I said, I feel like if you were a barbecue person, this is something you would probably enjoy.
Yeah, I think it would go good with barbecue too. Yeah. Agave is sweet. We use agave syrup all the time.
Agave syrup is a good replacement sweetener that we use.
Low glycemic,
yeah. And we haven't talked about the tobacco at all that we're smoking. I don't even know if we said the name of it on here. So the cigar shop up in Delaware just started carrying a lot more pipe tobacco. I was like, I got to try something. I got to pick up something from them, support it. And I went in, but it was mostly aromatics, like cherry bomb, and a really big vanilla one. And I was like, that's just not really my style. But I saw this one and I was like, all right. I read the back of it. It's like, this sounds okay. Read the bottom of that to say what all's in it there. It's a Cavendish blend.
I'm surprised because I'm not getting much Cavendish.
Yeah.
It's very just tobacco to me. Blended from a heavy-bodied Cavendish. Maybe that's why. This tobacco is made smooth by adding a mixture of Zimbabwe orange smoking grades and aromatic Thailand burley. It's mellowed using black Perique from Louisiana. That's where I'm getting that. Okay.
The Perique, yeah.
I was like, this is a vapor, kind of. You know what I mean? But there's no Virginia or anything. This leaf is stored for many years in a sherry oak barrels, giving this tobacco a mature oaken aroma. So you kept calling this a aromatic. I don't think it is.
It may not be. And so like it's a Cavendish.
They use Cavendish, but it's full bodied and it's not topped or cased or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then they use different grades of burley and Perique.
Yeah.
So this is it's a kind of like a vapor without the Virginia, which is very interesting. And then the sherry oak barrels is interesting. Dude, I was going to say, I'm really enjoying this. It's very kind of just tobacco, like good tobacco with some spice to it. It kind of reminds me of a Mac Baron.
And so it's called Irish Cask, and it's Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson. This is definitely going on the list.
It is. Yeah, this is a great.
Can't believe I've never tried it. And I think reading that, you wouldn't maybe get all. You might think it's more aromatic than it is. This is really
There's just
not.
lots of pieces to it there.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things.
But it's more aromatic than most. But if you're a pipe smoker, it's not an aromatic.
Tobacco,
Don't be scared. This actually tastes fantastic, and it's got a decent room note. It's not sticky. It's not syrupy. I don't think they've used any toppings. It's really. It's just the tobacco. The types of tobacco they used are aromatic naturally, kind of a thing. It's the least aromatic thing that I thought I was going to like. I thought it was going to be goopy, kind of like Sherlock Holmes is aromatic. I mean, that is aromatic. This is not compared to that. This is very good. You picked the winner, Steve, and I think it's going good with the mezcal.
It is. I think it is going good with the mezcal. Maybe the Perique is helping it a little bit
with the spice,
a little bit of a spice to it. I think that's helping with the sweetness of the mezcal.
Like adding pepper on gumbo, it just gives you a little bit more.
I could see that. Almost like a rye spice with some smoke.
Dude, I can't believe I didn't read that earlier because I've been sitting here trying to rack my brain. I'm like, I just don't get it. And then I read that Perique. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
So it's like a bar purr.
Yeah. It's a bar purr. Yeah. That's our new one, dude. You got any bar purrs around here?
Perique, yeah.
Those cab bar purrs?
Cab bar purrs.
Some of them orange grades.
Now, Steve, before we started this episode, you mentioned that there's a different traditional. Is this a traditional thing or?
This is traditional. So you've heard with tequila that you're supposed to do the salt and lime thing. You put a little bit of salt in your hand, lick it, and then bite into a lime. With mezcal, you're supposed to use a particular kind of salt. I'll explain it in a minute. And an orange.
Do you do the same thing?
Same kind of system. You could just sprinkle a little bit of the salt on the orange. Would be fine. But this salt is made from the worms that you go in mezcal. And so the
we haven't
worms
talked
are
about
at the
that.
bottom. Yeah, the worm in the bottle is a marketing gimmick that started in like the 50s. Like that's not a real thing.
That's not a traditional thing.
Not a traditional thing. No, that's a marketing gimmick thing. But this stuff is a Gusano Gran Mitla, but it is ground up agave worm salt. So it's
agave worm salt.
Yep. So those worms,
and that could be used for tequila too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's the same. Yeah.
Can you imagine that on a margarita, like a salted rim?
Yeah, salted rim with this. Like, it's a pretty dark.
They
salt.
petrified these things and made them into salt. Basically,
I think so. Yeah,
They probably like smoked them and then.
If you smell it, it's very smoky.
Yeah. Probably smoked it and then let it dry and blend it. So, I've seen a lot of people do that lately. They make their own flavored salts. So like sriracha salt, but they'll throw it on like the smoker and let it sit for like 2 hours and then they dry it out and blend it.
And so, so I'm going to try a little bit of this salt just by itself and then
decide past that. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do it no matter what.
Yeah,
it's the proper way of doing it. We got to try it. You got to try it no matter what. But I want to try some of the salt by itself just because I'm curious about it. If it just tastes like salt or if it's wormy.
What does wormy taste like?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I've eaten the worm from a tequila bottle, but
what did it taste like?
Tastes like worm.
Yeah.
What is a worm?
Well, go outside and try one.
It tasted like you would expect it to, like an undercooked piece of chicken. But when you're doing that, you've gotten to that point, right? You don't open a bottle of tequila.
That's not your first glass.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you don't open a bottle and like pour a little out and the worm pops out and you do it. You know what I mean? So usually by the time you get to the worm, you're to the point where you're not going to really remember that much about how the worm tasted. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you eat the worm because you finished the bottle.
Right.
So side note, have you guys ever noticed that we equate everything flavor-wise to chicken? It's never like, ooh, undercooked beef, or oh man, that tastes like beef. Everything tastes like chicken. Why is that a cultural thing?
I don't know. Did you already take the sip, or did you just do it?
Yeah.
Oh, now you're going to sip it. Okay. So you do it before or after?
Oh, folks.
I did it after.
Oh, man. This is like meaty.
Yeah, the salt is very just smoked salt. It's very salty, turns out.
Well, you used to hunk. You used to hunk the
I did a
salt.
chunk. And yeah, I put it just right on the orange. And then I took a drink after. Right? Okay, you're gonna go put it in the palm. Okay.
How I used to do it. Party
Back
over
in the
here.
day.
We definitely used to take a lot of these shots. And again, like I said, I was so ruined because of all the junk.
Now, the proper way of doing it, do you do the shot first?
shot first. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
shot first. Okay.
And then the lime wedge, or in this case, the orange, and then the salt.
And then the lick of the salt?
Yep.
Okay.
Or you could do the salt and the lime. I think that's actually how I normally do it.
Is it salt and then lime?
Salt and the lime, yeah.
I can see this going very well together.
That's very pleasant.
It is. It's very nice. I feel like the salt and lime thing is almost like it's like a pain point. It's like the lime is so
This is more friendly than that.
sour.
Yeah.
This is very friendly.
It actually adds to the drink.
Yeah.
It doesn't just like take the bite away or give you something to focus on, which is typically why you do that.
I know this may sound weird, but the salt turns this into scotch. Like it
More
gives
so,
it
you think?
more of like a earthy, more of like a depth.
I like that salt.
I do too.
It's good salt. Yeah.
Wow, I like that salt. Let me get a little bit more of that salt.
I would put that on
I'm
a
gonna do
steak or
this
something.
again.
Oh, 1,000%. I'd put that on like chicken.
I was just about to say steak and eggs. This kind of sounds like a good idea. Let me just give myself a little on my hand here.
Can you imagine? Oh, that
I like
with
this
some
salt.
smoke
So
over.
this is worms.
Yeah, this is just worms.
They don't look like worms, but
Did you ever eat mealworms as a kid or anything?
I'm not sure what that one is. What's a mealworm?
It's one you have, it's something you have for a meal.
Tapeworms?
No, they're like they kind of look like the worms that are in tequila or whatever, like the same look, but they're dried out, and I think you feed them to like lizards and stuff. But you can buy them for yourself, and you can buy like just mealworms and eat them.
Oh,
It was like a thing that you would do.
No, I never did that.
Yeah, so they're kind of like that.
so the agave worm spends its life eating only agave pulp. Reaching its adulthood, we carefully select and extract it. The worm is then dried and carefully ground with hand-harvested Oaxacan sea salt and dried chilies.
Chilies, okay.
So it's not smoked, it's the chilies.
You know what I think it is? I think I'm actually enjoying the addition of the orange and the mezcal
I agree.
together. And actually, like, you know, a tequila sunrise? That makes sense.
Absolutely, it does.
That makes
Yeah.
more
orange,
sense
yeah.
now because I don't think I ever equated that together. And I don't even know if I've ever actually really had one. But the idea of like a screwdriver, basically, with mezcal is interesting to me and appealing. And I want to try it. I think that orange juice and the mezcal go together pretty well, at least a good mezcal. Interesting. I like it. I like that salt.
Yeah, I agree. I do too. I'm glad I found that, and yeah, I think it added to the mezcal a lot.
I can see this being a tradition. Instead of the worm in the bottle, I can see the tradition of utilizing the
salt.
worm for the salt with chilies and having that with a food, like a meal, and this beside it.
So is the agave kind of plagued with these worms, and that's why they're kind of like?
It could be. This might be a pest.
I wonder if
Yeah.
worms have ended up in tequila just because of the simple fact that they couldn't keep them
They're
out.
just pests. Yeah.
And then it became kind of like, oh, we'll put a worm in the tequila, kind of a thing. Actually, if I was a company, that's what I would do. If someone I got a worm in my bottle. We do that on purpose.
That's like a special bottle.
a trademark thing that we do. You know what I mean? Oh, you got two? You got two? That's a double special.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the gold right there.
Yeah, that's a collectible right there.
So yeah, I think mezcal is definitely a future drink for us. It seems.
Do you think mezcal is going to become the future?
You know, I don't.
I
know.
don't
I,
think
I still don't think. So.
I think
don't
it's going
know
to
that
get
I
more
think so.
popular. I don't think it's going to
Yes.
be the future.
I think
But
it's
for
become
us, it
more.
might be a
I think
little
it's
bit
going to
more.
become more popular. I'm hoping that means we'll get more brands. We'll get some more in that. Yeah, we'll have a bigger selection.
More prevalent.
More brands that we import.
They'll have to be imported.
Yeah, because we can't make it.
Although there are lots of people that are making agave spirits. And so they're making.
They're not calling them mezcal.
They're
or
not
tequila.
calling it mezcal or tequila because it's not from those regions, but they're calling it agave spirits. when we went to
Name brand.
Name brand. They had their own agave
And
spirit.
My question is,
Still
if you're
630
doing that at this
Still
point,
630,
how
yeah.
are you sourcing your agave, and are you?
I think you would have to source your
smoking it, but
agave.
then are you smoking it? Are you getting it and smoking, or are you getting it pre-smoked, or how?
I would guess that you are getting the
ground up and everything,
ground up
like
piñas.
it's already done.
And
yeah.
some are, so Journeyman just released their agave spirit. They are not touching the spirit itself. They are importing, they're sourcing.
And, yeah,
the
get it. Just
tequila.
putting it in their bottles.
And since it's theirs, they have to call it agave. But they're not
Because
making
you'd
it.
almost be losing out at that point if someone was doing it themselves and not doing it by hand the way that. But they're using their own stills, so they're not using the clay and whatnot. But I still think, as far as tequila goes, or agave, for me, I think it's got to be authentic. I think I want to see it where it was made. I think I want to see it in those cool ceramic bottles. I'm going to be getting myself some of those. Have you seen these? They come in cool ceramic bottles.
Yeah.
But I think you might see a shelf appear at some point of some mezcal.
mezcals,
Yeah.
yep.
I think it's on the list.
I think it's on the list.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So definitely a spirit of the future for us, and I think it is something that more people will try. I think it'll definitely at least become more prevalent in that way. I don't know that it'll take over, but it'll become more popular.
It might take off a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know that it'll take over, but I think it'll compete.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever.
It'll never be the thing,
Yes.
the spirit.
But I think it might compete enough that it brings bourbon down for us to get them at a decent
A little bit.
price.
I think
yeah.
a little bit. And I think you're going to see it more in these high end taco joints and stuff. I think people really kind of gravitate to it. And I think you're going to see more of the higher end, good selection type stuff in those. But I already do see, more of that stuff. I definitely have had Cabo Wabo, which is not that's an American, of that, it was Jimmy Buffett's or it was somebody's. Yeah. But stuff like that, you're starting to see more brands come out.
Yeah. A lot of celebrities are making
It's a lot of
tequilas.
Yeah,
celebrity
they are.
thing.
Yeah.
It's a celebrity thing.
Christmas featured finished. All right, on to the next. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you want more great content and other perks, be sure to support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. We can be reached on our website, whiskeychaserspod.com, with any ideas for the show. Thanks again.